Hello, Bachcho. I welcome you all in this session. I am extremely sorry that I could not came on live, so I have recorded this video. That's the one-shot video on your MST1. That's the discrete mathematics. So in this video, we just go over through the introduction of sets, the types of the sets, set operation, algebra, and so on. So, as you know, this is the definition of set. So we have already discussed this in the videos. So a set is a well-defined collection of distinct objects of the same type. I will be a little fast because I had the motive to solve the question as per your examination point of view. So you have the exam. So we practice the more questions. These definitions you know already. So for example, this is a set that is in the roster form, and this is a notation when we are denoting a set. So we are denoting it with the capital letters and its elements are with the small letters, and this notation is called the that's belonging to. So if we have an element in a set A, so we say x belongs to A, and if we have the slant line inside this symbol, so we are saying that it does not belongs to the set A. So we have the two forms of the set, as one is the roster form that's listing all the elements, and one is the set builder form in which we are giving the elements with some property. For example, here so with this set is P has the elements A, B, C, D. So this is a roster form, and if we denote a set X such that these elements are from the natural number and elements is the multiple of 3, so this will be the set builder form. So then its roster form will be this. So what is a finite set? This may come in your exam, the definition of finite set. So as finite set is a set with a specific, that's a finite number of different elements. So you don't say specific elements, but it is a specific number of the different elements. So for example, if we have a set P in which we have the natural number which are greater than 3, less than 9, so that will be 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So an infinite set is a set with infinite number of the different elements. So they may ask the question in the exam. So one another set that is in your syllabus is the empty set. So what is the empty set? A set that has no element. For example, if we have to find that real number which for example x square to be equal to 4, and this element should be odd, so you know that the x square, when you have the x square to be equal to 4, so x can be either plus 2 and minus 2, but it gives you the condition that the element should be odd, so we do not have any odd number whose square is 4, so this is the empty set. Similarly, so you have the number whose square is 9 and it should be even, so but you know it is plus minus 3, both are odd, so you will not get any even number, so this is empty. So similarly, we have the equality of the two sets. We said that a set A is equal to the set B if we have the element in every element of A is in the B and every element of B is in the A. So that means A is the subset of B and B is the subset of A. So if these both conditions will hold, so then we will say A is equal to B. So two elements A and B are equal if they have the exactly the same elements that A and B has. Okay. So then we have the definition of the subset. So a set A, if we have A is a subset of the B, we are writing it in this way. So we say that if every element of the A is also the element of the B, so A is the subset of B, so we'll say X belongs to A implies that the element will be again in B. So then we say this is the subset. So what is a proper subset? So A is said to be the proper subset of the set B. So if A is the subset of B and A is not equal to B, that means one element, there exists one element in the B such that X does not belongs to A. So then we say that this is a proper subset. For example, here if you have the A to be the set 2, 3, 4 and B is the set 2, 3, 4, 5, so now you can check there is one extra element here. You can check as 5, that's in B but not in A, but every element of A is in the B, so A is the subset of B and this is a proper subset of B. So every set is a subset of itself. So this is the improper subset because it will be the equal. This is a property. Every empty set is the subset of every set, and we have already proved it. So this is a proper subset. Okay. So what is a power set? A power set of a set A is, we are denoting it by the P of A. It is saying that this is the set of all the subsets that are possible of a set A. So if A has the n elements, then we know that the number of elements in the power set will be 2 raised to power n. Okay, so these are the some that's the important results that we are using in the upcoming results. Okay, so just remember these formulas. Okay, so for example, if A has the elements R and S, then its power set has the how many elements? 2 raised to power 2, that will be 4, and that is the empty set is the subset of A. A set itself is the subset of A, and if you will take a set whose elements is R only, so then it is the subset of A, and this S is also the subset of A. Okay, so it has the 4 elements. You can check the cardinality of the power set is 4. Now, what's the universal set? So if a set, okay, if a set that contains all elements under the consideration, for example, if I, for example, give you the set A is equal to 1, 2, 3. So any set, for example, you will say the set of natural number will be the universal set for this, the set of the integer. So that is the consideration about which we are talking. Okay, so that is called the universal set. Okay, so now what's the cardinality? The number of the distinct elements that are present in a set is called the cardinality, and we are denoting it by the n of A or the this, okay, mid of A. Okay, so now for example, here in the set P you have the 4 elements, so the number of elements in the P are 4. Similarly, A has the infinite elements, so it is countably infinite. Okay, so now the definition of the union, so here you have to note it. So if you have the two sets A and B, we are taking the union and taking the elements in the union. It is again a set in which the elements will be from A or from B. This one is important, that we are using in the proportional calculus. So this or is important, so it will be the elements will be from A or from B. For example, A has the element 1 2 3 4, but 1 2 3, and B has the elements, let's say 3 4 5 6. So A union B has the elements 1 2 3 4 5 6. So the elements will be from either from A or from B. So for example, if this is your set, let's say A, and this is your set, let's say B, so this is A, this is B. So now you have 1 2 3 and 4 5 6, because 3 also contains the 3, so this is the A union B. Okay, so what's the intersection? So in the intersection we have those elements which are in common, means with those elements which are in A as well as in B, those elements, though that set, that is A intersection B, is again a set, and this is the intersection of A and B. Okay, so for example, A has the element A B C D, and B has the element A B L and M. You can observe here A is in A as well as in B, so B is in A and B is in B. So these two elements are in the intersection, so we can write A intersection B is has the element A comma B, and these two elements will be here, A and B. Okay, so this is the intersection. Okay, so now we have the what's the difference of the two sets A and B. If we have the set A and B, the difference of the two sets is we are taking the elements of A which are not in B. Okay, for example, here if A B C D is a set A and ALMN is a set B, so now A minus B means those elements. Okay, so A minus B is actually giving us the elements of A but which are not in B. So A is in the B, so we will exclude it. B is in the A but not in B, so C and D, so this is A minus B. Similarly, you can find the B minus A as well. So this is part is the A minus B. So A minus B is nothing, that is, you can write it, it is A minus A intersection B. Okay, so similarly, that is the common elements in the A and B. Okay, so this part is A minus B. Okay, now what is the complement of a set? So a complement of a set is with respect to the universal set. Okay, with respect to the universal set is the set of those elements which are in the universal set but not in A. So we are writing it in this way, and that is U minus A actually. So those elements of the universal set which is not included in A, okay, that's called the universal set. For example, you have the set of natural numbers as the universal set. In A is 1 2 3, and then the complement of this will be all the natural numbers greater than 3. That will be all the natural number except 1 2 3. Okay, so that means the outer part of this one. Okay, here you will have 1 2 3 in the A, so that means you will consider this part as the complement of the set A. So this is the A complement and this is your A. Okay, now the symmetric difference. So if you have the two sets A and B, you define one operation this way called as the symmetric difference. This symmetric difference is the set of all the elements that are in A or B but not in both. Okay, but not in both, what does it mean? You are actually excluding the intersection. So if you have A 1 2 3 4, B 3 4 5 6, the symmetric difference tells you that I will take all those elements which are either in A or in B but not in both. For example, in the both you have 3 and 4, so the elements will be included as 1 2 3 and 4 is common, so exclude this 5 and 6. So this is A plus B. So what is that? So you are excluding the intersection, sorry, so you are excluding this part. Okay, so you are excluding this part and you are just taking the union of this part and this part. That is the symmetric difference of the two sets A and B. So now that set identities are very important for your examination point of view. What are the set identities? The idempotent law, that is A union B, gives you the A itself. Okay, so this may be in your what I said in your exam. You have to prove the idempotent law that A union A is giving you the A itself. Okay, similarly you have to prove A intersection A is giving you the A. So what will we do? So you have to show this A union A is equal to A. So consider this is one set, this is the another set. So first you will say A union A is the subset of A, then you will show that A is the subset of A union A. As I told, if A is the subset of B and B is the subset of A, then it implies A is equal to B. So you will show that LHS is the subset of RHS and RHS is the subset of LHS. So what will you do? So if you will take the element X from this set A union A, okay, so let X will be from your set A union A. So what does it mean? By the union definition, it says that it will be in A or it will be in A. So that means it will be again in A. So that means this element we got in the A, so that means it is a subset of A. So A union A is the subset of A. Similarly, now take the element from this A. So let X will be from the A, so that imply that X can be written in A or X can be written in A. So we can write it in this way. So X will be, by the OR definition, it is A union A. So that means it is the subset of A union. So A is the subset of A union A. A union A is the subset of A. From these two equations, A union A is equal to A. Similarly, you have to show A intersection A gives you the A. Okay, so you use the intersection. What will you do? So you will take the element in the A intersection A. So it gives you that X will belong in A and X will belong in A. So both are A, so that means X will belong in A. So that means this part A intersection A is the subset of A. Similarly, now conversely, let X will be from your this one A. So it means that X will be from A and X will be from A. So that means X will be from A intersection A. So that means this A is the subset of A intersection A. So this means that from this and this property, A is equal to A intersection A. So this property or the identity is called the set identity. Similarly, there is the associative law. So you have to show that A union B union C is equal to A union B union C. So what is your here you will do A union B union C. You will show that it is the subset of A union B union C, and similarly you will show A union B union C is the subset of A union B union C. From these two properties you will get that this imply the associative law. So what will you do? You just take the element from here, arbitrary element that is in the A union B union C. So let you are taking this element. What does it mean? It means that you have the union here, so that means X belongs to A union B or X belongs to C. Now apply this formula here, so that is X belongs to this union, so that means or X belongs to B or X belongs to C. Now take this one, so X belongs to A or X belongs to or means B union C. So this or is giving you the in union, so X belongs to A union B union C. So that means this was from the element A union. So A union B union C you got as a subset of A union B union C. Similarly, now take the element from here. Okay, so now take the element from, let X will be from A union B union C. So that means X will be from A or X will be from B union C. That means X will be from A or X will be from B or X will be from C, because by this union. So now take these two, so X belongs to A union B or X belongs to C. That means X belongs to A union B union C. So this is the subset of this one, so that means you will get the associative law. Similarly, in the intersection you will use the and the commutative law, distributive law. Mark it very important for your exam, and you have to prove it. Okay, the distributive law you have to prove, and similarly you have to prove the De Morgan's law. So okay, so De Morgan's law you have to prove this in the exam. Mark these three are very important. Okay, so now if you have to prove the set identity, sorry, associative law, sorry, here it is a distributive law. So what will you do? You will take the element, from this, and you will show that it is in here. So what will you do? We will take the element from the A intersection B union C. Taking the intersection, that means when you will take the intersection, so that means intersection will give you the and B union C will give you the or. So now distribute this and with the B and with the C, so or will come. So now with respect to the and, that means intersection of A and B, with respect to the and intersection of A and C, or will give the union. So that means A intersection B union C, that means this LHS is the subset of RHS. Now take the element from here. Similarly, take the element from here, you will see that you will get this is the subset of this one. You have to show it, so then you will prove that this distributive law. Similarly, okay, now similarly you have the De Morgan's law. Just a second. Okay, so I will show you the De Morgan's law here. That's very important for your exam. So yeah, you can go to my video that is on the De Morgan's law. I have already just solved this De Morgan's law and distributive law in the previous videos. We will not waste the time here. Okay, so these are the set identities. I already told these are very important. Okay, now we will discuss the Cartesian product. The Cartesian product of the two sets P and Q is actual the set of all the ordered pairs x comma y, where this x comes from the P and y comes from the Q. So set of all those identity ordered pairs, we are calling it as a Cartesian product. For example, P has the elements A, B, C, and Q has the elements K, L, M, and N. So you can define the P cross Q. So A comma K will come, A comma L will come, A comma M will come, A comma N will come. So B comma K will come, B comma L. So this way, how many elements are there in P? And 3, and the elements are there is 4. So 3 times 4, so that's 12 elements will be there in P cross Q. So this, the cardinality of the Cartesian product is the product of the cardinality of the sets. So that is cardinality of A times cardinality of B. Okay, so there are some properties of the Cartesian product. That's A cross B intersection C is A cross B intersection A cross C. A cross B union C is A cross B union A cross C. Okay, so these are some okay, now this is very important as per your exam point of view. What do you mean by a partition? What do you mean by a partition? So in the partition, if you have a set S, you can make a set P the subsets of S such that First, the elements of P should be disjoint. Okay, they should be disjoint. Second is that the union should give you the S. That set P is then called the partition of S. What does it mean? For example, if you have the set S as, for example, in the S you have the color red, blue, green and yellow. Now you make another set which is the set of the subsets of S. Let's say partition. So now you can check this set red. This is the subset of S. This blue is the subset of S. And this green and yellow is the subset of S. If we will take the union of this, let's say this is A, this is B, this is C and this is D. So now you can take A union B union C union D, it will give you the S. And A intersection B, that's MPT, means these two sets have no element in common. These two sets have no element in common. This and this has no element in common. They are mutually disjoint. So this is the partition. Now if we will take for example this one, here I am considering the phi. Since if you will take the union, it will give you the S, but you have the one here as the MPT set, but MPT set is not included in the partition. So that is the non-MPT subsets that are of the S and gives you the union as the S itself, and the intersection should be mutually the sets will be mutually disjoint. So we say that set is a partition. Okay, so this one is very important, and I just want to just solve one question. So sometimes they may ask you, they will give you a set and they will give you the subsets of that set and ask you whether this is a partition or not. Okay, for example, okay, just a second. So if I will give you a set, let's say, okay, let's say A is equal to 1 2 3 4 5, and they will give the subsets of A as, let's say, P is equal to 1 comma 2, okay, 3 comma 4 and 5, and now P2 they will give you 1, they will give you 2 3, they will give you 3 4 5, and you have to check P1 and P2 are the partition. So here you can check this one, this one, this one, no element is in common, and if you will take the union of this one, this one, this one, this will give you the A. So this is a partition. So here this one, this one, this one, union is giving you the A, but you have the intersection of these two sets is the 3, so they are not disjoint, so this one is not the partition. Okay, so done. So now you have the definition of the Venn diagram. So what is a Venn diagram? Venn diagram is a pictorial representation of the sets using enclosed areas in a plane. Okay, so this is the that's the Venn diagram. So I hope you people have already gone through the video. I just tell you the video number. Okay, so I have already discussed the Venn diagram already in the lecture 2 of the discrete mathematics. You can go, okay, and check that video. So now here, for example, this is what we are doing. We are just writing we are just drawing the rectangular shape that is considered to be my universal set, and these balls, these are called the subsets of U. And this is, for example, if this is my set A and this is my set B, then this whole colored area is A union B. This part is A intersection B. This part and this part, if we will take the union of these two parts, so then that is called the symmetric difference. When we will exclude this one, this is called the A complement. Okay, and A union B complement. Okay, so this is A union B complement. So this is the Venn diagram, and they may ask you the question regarding the Venn diagram. Draw the Venn diagram of, for example, A complement minus B, A union B whole complement, or show prove by the Venn diagram that A union B whole complement is A complement intersection B complement. So you have to draw the Venn diagram of LHS, you have to draw the Venn diagram of RHS, and you have to show the shaded area is same. Okay, so here universal set is the rectangular, and other set circles inside the rectangle are the other sets. And intersection is the overlapping region, and the union is the total area covered by the circles. Okay, for example, if A is the subset of B, so you will draw the universal set, and this AB is contained in here. So if A and B if A and B has not elements, so they are not, means they are not disjoint, so then they are overlapping. So sorry, this shape is wrong. So if they are disjoint, then this is this way. Okay, so they will be disjoint in this way. Okay, so now this is not in your syllabus. Okay, so now relations. Okay, so yeah, in the sets, there is another concept, that is the min set and max set. I have forgotten that one, so let's discuss that one here. Okay, just wait. Okay, so that is very important as per your exam point of view. So in the exam, they may ask you about the min set and max set. So what is the min set? So if you have any set, okay, just wait. Okay, so I will write it here. So for example, we solve some questions of this min set. Okay, for example, if you have a set A to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, this is your set, and you have one subset, let's say P to be 1 comma 2. This is a subset of A. Q is another set, 2, 3, and 4. R is the another set, 2 and 4. They will ask you to find all the min sets, all the min sets generated by P, Q, and R. What does it mean? It means that the possible combination of P, Q, R along with its complement. That means P intersection Q intersection R. This is one min set. P complement intersection Q intersection R is another. P intersection Q complement intersection R is another min set. P intersection Q intersection R complement is another one. P complement intersection Q complement intersection R. P intersection Q complement intersection R complement. P complement intersection Q complement, sorry, intersection R complement. And similarly, P complement intersection Q complement intersection R complement. Okay, so these are the 8 possibilities, and when you will find these sets, these are called the min sets, because you have the 3 sets P, Q, and R, and you have the intersection in between. So here you have the 2 possibility, either you will take the P or its complement, either you will take the Q or its complement, either you will take the R or its complement. So 2, 2 or 4, 2 or 8. So 8 min sets are possible, and these min sets, when you will join these non-empty min sets, you will find that this will define a partition of your A. This will define the partition of your A. So these are called the min set. And if you replace these intersection by the union, that is P union Q union R, P complement union Q union R, P union Q complement union R, and so on. So these, you replace the intersection with the union, these are called the max sets. And you have to remember the max sets are not defined in the partition. Okay, this was about the set theory. So in the set theory, what are important things that that's for your exam? Go through it. First, you have to draw the Venn diagrams. For example, they will ask you to draw the Venn diagram of A complement, A minus B, B minus A. Okay, so you have to do it. For example, A complement, this is your U, draw the A, this is your A, so the complement is the area that's outside. Okay, A minus B, so take the set, universal set, this is your A, this is your B. A minus B, you are excluding the B, so this is the area. A minus B whole complement, if this is your A, this is your A, this is your B, so A minus B is this part, isn't? So it is complement is all this, even this part as well, because this part is only the A minus B, so it's complement. So they may ask you the this one, Venn diagram of this one. Yeah, another thing that may ask you in your exam is actual yeah, so that is the dual. Okay, so dual of duality. So in the duality, I have already uploaded the video, go through that. I already said the union is going to interchange with the intersection, and intersection with the union. The universal set is going to change with the empty set, and empty set with the union. So for example, if they will give you the universal set intersection A union B intersection A gives you the A, find it is dual. So this may be the 1 mark question, easy. So that is phi union A intersection B union A gives you the A. This is called the dual. What you will do, you have to find the universal set and change it with the phi. If there is the phi, change it with the U. Similarly, the union, change it into the intersection, and intersection with the union. For example, they will ask A intersection B whole complement is equal to A complement union B complement. Find it is dual. So that is A union B whole complement gives you the A complement intersection B complement. So that means De Morgan's law, the both laws are the dual of each other. Okay, so these are the things. So what we said in the set theory, min set. So I will tell you the important topic. The min set are important, max set, okay, all these. Venn diagram is important, and partition of a set, it is important. Okay, so these are the three topics that you must do these topics, okay, for your preparation. Okay, so these are the things. Okay, now move to the relation. So relation topic is very important. In the relation, what we said, a relation from a set A to a set B is a subset of A cross B. If we have the subset of A cross B, so we say that is the relation from a set A to a set B. Okay, so if R is a relation from A to B, so then we say A comma A is related to B, and writing it A comma B belongs to R. Okay, so that is A is related to B. So if A is equal to B, then R is called a binary relation on A. So that means the subset of A cross A is called the binary relation of A. Okay, if A is equal to 1, 2, 3, B is equal to X, Y, then the relation 1 comma X, 2 comma Y, 3 comma X is the relation of A to B. Okay, now what is the ordered pair? So an ordered pair has a first element, okay, A, and the second element B, and A comes from your one set and B is coming from the another set. So this is called the ordered pair. If two ordered pairs are equal, that means the first coordinate A is equal to the first coordinate, that's C, and B is equal to the D. Okay, what's the Cartesian product? The Cartesian product is the set of all these ordered pairs that we have already discussed. Okay, so if A and B is given, so you can define it. Okay, any relation R from A to B satisfies that A is the subset of A cross B. Means any subset of A cross B is called the relation of A from A to B, and any relation from A to B, that should be the subset of A cross B. Okay, so now if you have any set A that has the elements M, and then any set B that has the elements N, then how many elements in A cross B? That's Mn. And how many subsets will be of A cross B? 2 raised to the power Mn. So that means total number of relations is 2 raised to the power M times N. Okay, so if A has the 1 comma 2, B has the A, B, C, so the number of elements in A cross B is the 6, and the number of relations is 2 raised to the power 6. That's 64 relations are possible. Okay, so the domain of a relation R from A to B is the first elements of the ordered pairs. For example, here, okay, what's the range? The range of a relation R from A to B is actual the second coordinates of the ordered pairs B. For example, here, if you have the relation R, so 1, 2, 3, and 1 again, so 1, 2, 3 will be the actual the domain here. Okay, and X, Y, X and Y, so range is only X and Y. Even A has the element 1, 2, 3, 4, B has the element X, Y, Z, so the domain is 1, 2, 3, and the range is X and Y. Okay, so now inverse relation. The inverse of a relation R from A to B is B comma A. So if a relation R is A comma B, its inverse is B comma A. What is that? If a relation is 1 comma A comma 2 comma B, 3 comma a. So the domain is 1 2 3 and the range is a and b. So now take its inverse, so make it a comma 1, b comma 2, 3 comma, so this will be a comma 3. This is called the inverse of the relation. Okay, so if you will take again the inverse of this, you will get the r itself. So the domain, if you will check the domain of this r, so the domain is here of r, that is only 1 2 and 3, and here the range of this r is a and b. Now check here the domain of the r inverse, that is a and b, and the range of the r inverse is actual a, sorry, 1 2 and 3. So you can check the domain of r is the range of in this inverse, and the range of r is the domain of r inverse. Okay, so now important thing, that is a reflexive relation. Before the reflexive relation, I will define the identity relation. Okay, so in the identity relation, if you have a set A that is has the element 1 2 3, for example, so the identity relation, so this is a relation, means it will be from the A cross A, binary relation. Okay, defined on A. So the identity relation is actual a relation in which every element is related to itself. So 1 comma 1, 2 comma 2, 3 comma 3. So every element should be related to itself, means no element should be missing, and the relation should be only the 1 comma 1 is related to 2 comma 2, 3 comma 3. So that means for all the elements of A in the IA, x is related to x for all the elements of A. This is called the identity relation. What is reflexive? If identity relation is the subset of any relation, this relation is called the reflexive relation. This relation is called the reflexive relation. So A comma A should belong to R. For example, A is here 1 2 3. So what will be the identity relation? 1 comma 1, 2 comma 2, and 3 comma 3. So now check this. So is this is I. So is I the subset of R1? 1 comma 1 is there, 2 comma 2, 3 comma 3. Yes. So this means it is reflexive. Now check I is the subset of 1 comma 1 is there, 2 comma 2, 3 comma 3 is not there. So that means it is not reflexive. Okay. Okay, so in a direct graph, so what is direct graph? See, I will discuss it. In the direct graph, I have already uploaded the video regarding direct graph. I will directly do it here. So in the R1, if you will draw the graph of R1, this is your 1, this is your 2, this is your 3. So now you have to draw the graph. 1 is related with 1, so this is your 1, this is your 2, this is your 3. So 1 is related to 1, 2 is related to 2, 3 is related to 3. This is for the R1, and 1 is related to 2 with the direction. That's why it is called the direct graph. 2 is related with 3. So this is the graph of R1, and you can check every element has the loop here, is it? This is called the loop. So every element has the loop at every vertex. This is called a reflexive. If any vertex misses the loop, that is not reflexive. For example, R2, if you will draw the R2, this is your 1, this is your 2, this is your 3. Draw the graph for the R2. 1 is related with 1, 2 is related with 2, 1 is related with 2, 2 is okay, 2 is related with 3. You can check this element has not the loop, so this will not be the reflexive. Okay, so what is a symmetric? A relation R on a set is symmetric if A comma B belongs to R, then B comma A should also belongs to R. For example, here A has the R1, 1 comma 2 is there, so 2 comma 1 should also be there. 1 comma 3 is there, 3 comma 1 is also there. 2 comma 3 is there, 3 comma 2 is also there. So this is called the symmetric relation. Okay, for example, in R2, 1 comma 2, 2 comma 1 is there. 1 comma 3, 3 comma 1 is not there, so this is not symmetric. Okay, so now R is symmetric. R is symmetric, that means it is inverse relation should be same. Okay, clear. So what is antisymmetric? Antisymmetric means that a relation on any set A is said to be antisymmetric if A comma B belongs to A, and possibly if it is symmetric, that means B comma A should be there, then the A should be only B. Okay, so that means it is symmetric only with the, that means it is symmetric conjugate will only come if they are the, that means element is related to itself only. Okay, the element should relate to itself only. For example, here in R1, 1 comma 1 is there, 2 comma 2 is there, 1 comma 2 and 2 comma 1 is not there. so this is not symmetric. 2 comma 3, 3 comma 2 is not there. Good. So that means the symmetric conjugate will only possible when the element is related to itself only. So this is antisymmetric. 1 comma 2 is there, 2 comma 1 is there, 1 comma 2 is there, 2 comma 1 is there, but 1 is not equal to 2, is it? 1 is not equal to 2, so that means this means that it is not antisymmetric. Antisymmetric means they will be symmetric only possible when they are same. For example, here 1 comma 1 is related to 1, so 1 comma 1 is there, so that means not any other symmetric different conjugate is there. So that means this is not, R2 is not antisymmetric. Okay, so here it is the important relation. A relation can be neither symmetric nor antisymmetric, or both symmetric and antisymmetric. So both cannot, it may not be. Okay, so as for example here, if I will give the identity relation I, so 1 comma 1, 2 comma 2, 3 comma 3, it is an identity relation of a set A, 1, 2 and 3. Now you can check, this one is symmetric and this one is antisymmetric as well, because no other element is whose symmetric conjugate will come and will be different. No others that element is there existing, so this is antisymmetric. Okay, so now transitive. A relation is said to be transitive if A comma B is there, B comma C is there, then A and C will also be related to each other. Okay, so for example here R1 1 2 2 3 1 3, so 1 2 is there, 2 3 is there, so 1 3 should be there. Yes, you can check 1 and 3 should be there, so it is there. Okay, so similarly 1 and 2 is there, 2 and 3, so 1 comma 3 should be there, it is not there, so it is not transitive. So in the direct graph, if there is a path from A to B and B to C, then there must be a direct edge from A to C. For example, if you have this 1, this is your 2, this is your 3, now draw the R1. So 1 is, this is 1 2 and 3, 1 is related to 2, 2 is related to 3, then 1 and 3 should have the path, so you have the 1 is related to 3 as well, and 2 is related to 2, no issue. Okay, so now in this is R2, this is R3, let's sorry R2, 1 2 and 3. Let's draw the graph. 1 is related to 2, 2 is related to 3, but now 3 is not related to 1, there is no loop, so that means the path is not from the 3 to 1, so this is not transitive. Okay, so what is the equivalence relation? A relation is called the equivalence relation if it is, okay, if it is reflexive, it is symmetric, it is transitive, then we say it is a reflexive. A set of all the triangles. Okay, R is a relation, so that means every triangle is similar to itself. If a triangle T1 is similar to T2, then T2 will be similar to T1, and similarly it is transitive. Okay, so compatible relation, a relation R on the set A is compatible if it is reflexive, it is symmetric, it is okay, if it is reflexive and symmetric, we said it is compatible. And similarly relation that is reflexive, that is antisymmetric, that is transitive is called the partial order relation, and this part is very important for you. Okay, yes, so what is important here? Equivalence relation, equivalence relation, very important. Partial order relation, very important, and we have to solve some questions on this. What is the composition of the relation? So if R is a relation from A to B and S is a relation from B to A, then you can make a composition if you have a common element there, B, such that A comma B is in R, B comma C is in R, then A comma C is in the composition. For example here, if you have A is 1 comma 2, B is X and Y, C is P comma Q. If you will define a relation 1 to X, 2 to Y, so it is from A to B, S is from X to P, so now you can define R of S of R. So now that is 1 is with the X and X is with the P, so 1 with will come P, 2 with Y, Y with Q, so 2 with Q will come. Okay, good. So these are not the important things that are in your exam. So directed graph, as I said, a directed graph of a relation has a vertices as the elements of A and direct edges, that is the relation, whatever the relation that we have, we are just making it arrows. This is called the, okay, so these are not the things that are in your exam. So this was all about the Okay, this was all about your relations. Okay, now I want to solve, yeah, I want to solve the important questions that are from your that is in your, that may be in your exam. The question may be this way. Okay, I will show how to show a set, how to show that a relation is equivalence. They will say that we have a relation R defined from the set of integer z to the z. That means R is a subset of z cross z, such that an element a comma b is related to R if m divides a minus b and m is the positive integer greater than 1, greater equal to 1. So that means if m divides a minus b, now show that this R is the equivalence relation. So you have to show it is reflexive. M is the positive integer. They may give you 5, they may give the 100, they may give the 2. So they give any m there, or in generally they will ask the m. You have to prove that this relation is reflexive, means sorry, this relation is equivalence relation. So equivalence relation is reflexive. We know that a, we will take any x for all elements of the integer x minus x gives you the 0, and m divides 0 for all m greater or equal to 1. That means x is related to x. That means x comma x belongs to your R. Simple. Similarly, you have to show, sorry, yeah, similarly you have to show that it is symmetric, because you have to show it is equivalence. So you have to show it is symmetric. Let x is related to y in the R. When it is in the R, that means m divides x minus y. That means x minus y is the multiple of m. That means take the minus common, it will be y minus x is equal to m times to some number k. So y minus x can be written as m times minus k. So you can check y minus x is also a multiple of m. So that means y minus x, sorry, yeah, is divisible of m, because m is a factor. That means y is related to x. Done. Similarly, you have to show transitive. Let x is related to y and y is related to z. That means m divides x minus y and m divides y minus z. So when m divides x minus y, it means that x minus y is equal to m times k1 and y minus z is equal to m times k2. Add these two equations, so you will get x minus y plus y minus z is equal to m k1 plus k2. So that means x minus z is equal to m times the capital K. So it is again the factor, m is also a factor, so that means m divides x minus z. So that means x is related to z. So you have showed that it is symmetric, it is transitive, it is reflexive. So that means this is the equivalence relation. Okay, clear? Okay, similarly they may ask you, for example, you have defined a relation R defined on the set of positive integer to set of positive integer. That is, one element is related to another element in the relation if x is greater or equal to y. X is greater or equal to, show that it is partial order relation. When you have to show it is partial order, it means you have to show it is reflexive, it is antisymmetric, it is transitive. So to show that it is reflexive, so we suppose, as we know that every element is equal to itself. So we can say that x can be written as x is greater or equal to y. That means x comma x will be in the relation. Now symmetric. Let x is related to y. So antisymmetric, sorry, it is not symmetric. Because we have to show partial order. So let x is related to y. So x is related to y in the R. That means x is greater or equal to y. Suppose y is also related to x, means let it's symmetric. So that means y will be greater or equal to x. So from first and second, x is greater or equal to y is greater or equal to x. So that means x is equal to y. So the symmetric property only holds when x is equal to y. So this is antisymmetric. Yes or no? So transitive, if x comma y is in the R and y comma z is in the R, that means x is greater or equal to y and y is greater or equal to z. So that means x is greater or equal to z. That means x is related to z. That is transitive. Okay. So these type of questions will be in your exam. Okay. So sometimes they may ask this question: if you have a relation defined on the set of positive integer to the set of positive integer, one element is related to another element if x divides y. Show that it is partial order. Partial order relation. What will you do? Partial order means reflexive. We know that x is can be written as x times 1. That means x is a factor of x. So that means x is divisible of x. So x, every element divides x, because we have the positive integer, not 0. So that means x divides x. So x is related to x. Means it is reflexive. Now antisymmetric. Let x is related to y. That means x divides y, because x divides y. So that means y can be written as x times k1. And let's suppose that y is also related to x. That means x can be written as y times k2. So now take the value of x from here. So that's y times, put it here. So you will get y is equal to y times k1 cross k2. So that is k1 cross k2 is equal to 1. Is equal to, and now this is a positive integer. This is a positive integer. So k1 should be positive, k2 should be positive. The multiplication of two positive integers is 1. That means k1 is equal to k2 is equal to 1. Put it again here. So you will get y is equal to x. When k1 is equal to k2, y is equal to x. So that means it is antisymmetric. It is antisymmetric. So show that the transitive, when x is related to y and y is related to z, that means y is equal to x times k1, because x divides y, and here z is equal to y times k2. Take the value of y, that is z divided by k2. So put it here. Z divided by k2 is equal to x times k1. So z is equal to x times k1 times k2. So that is z is equal to x times k. So that means x divides the z. So x comma z is also in the R. So that is transitive, means that this is the equivalent partial order relation. So this way you have to show, okay, which equation is the, which relation is the partial order relation, which relation is the equivalence relation. Okay, so this was about the relations. Let's go now functions. So a function f from a set A to a set B, denoted by this way, is a relation from A to B. Function is also a relation, but the property of this is that every element of your A should relate to some of the element of the B. There exists one element from the B, that's a codomain, such that A should be related, and it should be related to uniquely. Okay. So the A is called the domain, the B is called the codomain. A is related to B is in the function. We say f of A is equal to B, and this is called the function. Okay, for example, here this is not the function because one has the A and one is related to B, so it is related to elements, so this is not the function. So domain, the set of all the possible imports of A. Codomain, that is our possible outputs are B. Range means the images, okay, set of images. Okay, we have already discussed it in the video. So this is everywhere defined, means if f of f is defined on the whole A and the domain is whole A, then we will say it is everywhere defined. Okay, now very important that many of the students have requested for this, that please solve the questions on this, that's the functions. Okay, so okay, now uh, the questions that may come in your exam in the functions is the check whether the function is 1 1 and onto. Okay, so what is the one function? We are calling it as the injective as well. So the function is said to be 1 1. Okay, a function is said to be injective or 1 1 if f of a is equal to f of a1 is equal to f of a2. You will prove a1 is equal to a2, or you will say a1 is not equal to a2 and prove that f of a1 is not equal to f of a2. Okay, so for example, this one, they will give you the function that is defined on 2x plus 3. So f of x is equal to x plus 3. They will show that it is 1 1. 1 1 you can go through my previous video. I have already discussed it, the 1 1. That means every element, different element, has the different image in the codomain. So what you will do, you will take, let f of a1 is equal to f of a2. That means 2a1 plus 3 is equal to 2a2 plus 3. That means 2a1 is equal to 2a2. That means a1 is equal to a2, means that this is 1 1. Simple. Okay, for example, g of x square. So g of x is equal to x square. Show that it is 1 1. So we will say a1 square, sorry, I will write g of a1 is equal to g of a2. So that means a1 square is equal to a2 square. So that means a1 is equal to plus minus a2. So that means a1 is equal to a2 and a1 is equal to minus a2. But we have to prove a1 is equal to a2, but it is also equal to minus a2, means that this is not 1 1. For example, if you will take the 4, so it is the square of minus 2 and plus 2. So that means this is not 1 1. Okay, so if you have to test graphically, so the function of the injective graph, if every horizontal line intersects its graph at most once. Okay, surjective, we have already discussed it in the video. What is the surjective? That means every element of the B has the preimage. Okay, so that means the whole range of the function is your codomain B. That's called surjective. If you have to find the this function is surjective, what will you do? You will take the element from the codomain. Okay, for example, you will take the element from the codomain, that is your R. You will say y is equal to f of x, and now put what is your f of x. F of x is 2x plus 3. Find the value of x, so that is y minus 3 divided by 2 is your x. Now you have to show this x is the element of your domain here. X is from here, y is from here. So now you have to check, is this domain always the element of your R? Y is the real number, minus 3, real number minus real number is a real number, real number divided by 2 is a real number, so this is again a real number. So that means every element, every real number in the codomain has the real number in the domain. That means it is onto. Okay, so this is the working rule. Okay, now bijective function, a function which is 1 1 as well as onto, is called the bijective function. That's injective as well as surjective. For example, this one, we have proved this is 1 1, this is onto, so that means this is bijective. X square is not bijective. Okay, properties of the bijective function. So that means it is inverse is existing, this is called the invertible function, and the cardinality of A should be equal to the cardinality of B for the finite sets. The function establish a perfect pairing between the A and B. What is constant function? If all the elements of the domain is associated to only one element of the codomain, is called the constant function. For the f of x is equal to 5, that means image of every real number is 5. This is called the constant function. Identity function means every element is related to itself. For example, you will take A is equal to 1 2 3. So if you will make a function f of x is equal to x, so 1 is related to 1, 2 is related to 2, 3 is related to 3. So this is called the identity identity function. That's why we call it as an identity relation as well. Okay, so this was about that. Okay, so visualization function type. So injective, surjective. So injective means that every element, different element has a different image. Surjective means every element of the codomain has the pre-image. So bijective means this is one as well as the onto. Okay, so now composition of a function. If f is a function from a to b, g is a function from b to c, the composition of the function is g of f of a. And you are, for example, these are the two functions. F of x is equal to x square, g of x is equal to x plus 3. So now f of g of x, so that means it is f of g of x. Apply the g of x first. So come from the right. Okay, so right, so that means first we will apply the g. What is g of x? G of x, x plus 3. Now take this x plus 3. So you have the input of f as x plus 3. The f says if you will give me any input, I will square it. So now you are giving the input x plus 3, so f will do x plus 3 a whole square, because its input is now x plus 3. Okay, so this is f of g of x. Similarly, g of f of x, so that is g of f of x. So you will come from the right, so apply the f. So what f says? F says if you will give me any element, I will square it. So you are giving x to the element f, so x square. Now g says if you will give me the any element, I will add it plus 2, so that's x square plus 2 plus 3. So you will check these two are not equal, so the composition of the functions are not always equal. Okay, now inverse of a function. A function is said to be invertible if there is another function. If you will take the composition, you will get the identity, that is g of f of x is equal to x again. So this is called the inverse of the function f. Okay, so when the inverse will exist, so the necessary condition and sufficient, that means here you have the necessary and sufficient condition for the function f is invertible if and only if it is bijective, like this was bijective. Okay, just okay. What is the algorithm to find the inverse of a bijective function? So if f is given, so to find the f inverse, you first define y is equal to f of x and solve in terms of the x. Replace x by the f inverse of y, and because x will be f inverse of y, so replace y by the x to get the f inverse of x. For example, this one. So here the domain is r minus 2, codomain is r minus 1. You have to show whether this is invertible or not. What will you do? So your f of x, you will take f of x or f of a. You just take f of a is equal to f of b. You have to show a is equal to b. What will you do? A plus 1, a minus 2, b plus 1, b minus 2. Cross multiply. A plus 1, b minus 2, b plus 1, a minus 2. What will you get? A, b minus 2a plus b minus 2. Okay, ab minus 2b plus a minus 2. So now we can check minus 2 and minus 2. Okay, ab and ab. Okay, so now take a and on one side and b on the another side. So you will get b plus 2b and here a plus 2a. So 3a 3b is equal to 3a, so a is equal to b, so that means it is 1 to 1. Okay, now check the onto. So suppose y is the element from your codomain such that y is equal to f of x. So what is your f of x? That is x plus 1, x minus 2. You will multiply it with the y. So y times x minus 2 is equal to x plus 1. So xy minus 2y is equal to x plus 1. Take the take the x on one side. So xy minus x is equal to 1 plus 2y. So take x common, you will get y minus 1 is 1 plus 2y. X will be 1 plus 2y divided by y minus 1. So y should not be equal to 1. Yes. So for the 1, we do not have the pre-image and that is not in our codomain. So it is onto. Clear? Okay, now if this is onto, it is 1 1, this is onto. Now you have to find the bijection. So I said wherever there is the x, replace it f inverse of y. So here, so f inverse of y will be equal to, wherever there is the y, you have to write the x. So it will be 1 plus 2x, x minus 1, x is not equal to 1. This is called the inverse of f. Okay, so this is the simple way to find the inverse of a function. Is this clear? Okay, so now they may give in the functions. Okay, they may give the different. Okay, these are not the things that are in your exam. Okay, I just write the another function that may be in your exam. For example, they will ask you find the uh, f inverse. Okay, I will take some difficult one. Okay, okay, the same thing, f of x is equal to 3x plus 5. Show that it's inverse or first one on to. Okay, similarly they will give 2x minus 7 divided by 3, it is from r to r. Okay, so they will give f of x is equal to 5x plus 3 divided by 2x minus 1. So what will you do actually? First you just put f of a is equal to f of b and show that a is equal to b. Simple. Okay, then take any element from the codomain, say y is equal to your f of x. Put the f of x, for example, and find here the value of x. So that value, then replace x with the f inverse of x. Okay, clear? So then the y on your RHS, replace that with the function of x. That is the inverse of your function. Okay, now done this one. Functions, okay, these are not for your exam. Equal functions, we say that a function, two functions are equal if they have the same domain, same codomain, and the same image at a particular element, at every particular element. Okay, okay, so solving the problems. So for example, this one, show that first it is injective, then show that it is surjective, then find the inverse simply. So here x, you will write f inverse of x, here you will get x divided by x plus x minus 2. So this we have done about the functions. Now the mathematical induction. In the mathematical induction, so mathematical induction is a mathematical proof technique used to prove statements, all statements about all natural numbers, in which we are including the natural numbers. So the principle is that first what we are doing, we are supposing that it is true for the initial value that is defined there. Second, we suppose that it is true for p of k, and then we are proving it for the p of k plus 1. Okay, this is the method for the mathematical induction. Okay, so these are the steps that we are following. Okay, so let's do. So basic step is for the initial one, then the inductive step which we are assuming, then the inductive proving for k plus 1, and the conclusion. Okay, for example, this one, if you have to prove that this one 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1 is n into n plus 1 divided by 2, and n is greater or equal to 2, that means the initial value is 1. So for this is what p of n. Okay, now for n is equal to 1, when n is equal to 1, what will be your p of 1? That means only one term is 1, and your RHS will be 1 into 1 plus 1, because you are replacing n by the 1. So n by the 1, so that will be 2, so 2 by 2, that is equal to 1. So that means this is true for n is equal to 1. Now we suppose p of r is true. We suppose that it is true. What will be the LHS? So that will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus r, and RHS will be r into r plus 1 divided by 2. Now you have to prove for r plus 1. So what will be the expected one? So when you replace n is equal to r plus 1, what will be your expected result on the RHS? R plus 1, replace the n by r plus 1. So r plus 1 and plus 1, that's r plus 2 divided by 2. So now we have to prove actual this result. So n is equal to r plus 1. So what will be your LHS? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus so on plus r plus 1. up to here we have already the result r plus 1 divided by 2, and this term is r plus 1. Now take the r plus 1 common, you will get r by 2 plus 1, that is r plus 1. This is cross multiply r plus 2 whole divided 2, so that you got the same result. So that means it is true for all the natural numbers. Okay, so this is the proof. Okay, so now for example this one, if they will ask you to find the square of these that is results, that it is true for what, that's 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, so on up to n square is equal to n plus 1 to n plus 1. So you have to prove these results. Okay, you have to prove these results. Okay, what will you do? For n is equal to, so here n is equal to 1, isn't it? So that's our initial value. Just okay, for the initial value n is equal to 1, so what will be your LHS? So for n is equal to 1, your LHS will be 1 square, that's 1, and your RHS will be 1 into 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2 1 are 2 divided by 6. So that is 3 multiplied 2 by 6, that is 6 by 6, that is equal to 1. Now suppose it is true for r, so 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, r square. So that is r plus 1, 2r plus 1 divided by 6. Now p of r plus 1. Now suppose n is equal to r plus 1. So what will be your result, expected result? R plus 1, r plus 1 plus 1, r plus 2. Here 2r, so that is 2r, 2 1 are 2 plus, so that is 3 divided by 6. So replace the r and by r plus 1. So this result you have to prove this result. What will you do? So put this n is equal to r plus 1, find the LHS. So that is 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, r square, r plus 1 whole square. So up to here you have already the result, that is r plus 1, 2r plus 1 divided by 6 plus r plus 1 whole square. Okay, take the r plus 1 common. So r plus 1 you will take common. What will you get? R 2r plus 1 plus 6 r plus 1 cross multiply, okay, and divide by 6. So r plus 1 divided by 6, so you will get 2r square plus r plus 6r plus 6. Okay, so now that is r plus 1 divided by 6, 2r square plus 7r plus 6. So when you will split the middle term, you will get r plus 1, r plus 2, 2r plus 3 divided by 6. So that's the same result. Okay, so this is how you will do the mathematical induction. Okay, you have to prove 2 raised power n is greater than 1. Okay, like this. What will you do? The basic step, n is greater or equal to 0. So initial is 0. So 2 raised power 0 is 1. So that is greater or equal to your n is 0. Okay, now inductive hypothesis. Suppose that 2 raised power k is greater than k. Now you have to prove that 2 raised power k plus 1 is greater than k plus 1. So what is your 2 raised power k plus 1? That is 2 times 2 raised power k. And 2 raised power k we already know that is greater or equal to k. So that is greater than k. So 2 times k by the inductive. So this we know that this 2, this one, what is this? 2 raised power 1. Okay, so this is 2 times k. So you can write k plus k. Yes or no? And k is, we know k is greater or equal to 0. Yes or no? So because we have k as 1, 2, 3 and so on. So this is greater or equal to 0. So this is greater or equal to 1. So we are just replacing it with 1. So that will be, this will be true for all k greater or equal to 1. So that means this is the proof. Okay. Okay, now just a second. Okay, I just go through some of the questions that may be in your exam directly. Okay, this question may be in your exam. They will ask the, show that n cube minus n is divisible of 6. When we say divisible of 6, that means 6 is a factor of this. We suppose for the n is equal to 1, so that means 1 cube minus 1, so 0, and we know 6 divided the 0, 6 0 are 0, simple. So now we suppose that it is true for k, so that means k cube minus k is divisible of 6, so that means k cube minus k, so that is we will say k cube minus k is 6 times some number, sorry, 6 times number s. So now we have to prove k plus 1, replace it by the k, so k plus 1 ka whole cube minus k plus 1, so you will solve it. So when you will solve it, so you will get k cube minus k plus 3k square plus 3. What you need? You need k cube minus k. So you already know this is a 6 times some multiply. Yes or no? So that is 6 cube minus k, and now take the 3k common here. So you will get the k plus 1. Okay. So k into k plus 1, it is always even. Okay. And product of consecutive integer 3 2 are 6. Okay. So that means it will be also the multiple of 6. So this is the multiple of 6. This is already a multiple of 6. Take the 6 common. So that is all is divisible by the 6. Okay. So or you can do it another way. The same question you can do by the another way. What will you do? Where in the inductive step, what I did in the inductive step, I said that this k cube minus k is divisible of 6. Okay, just a second. Just a second. It is n cube minus n. Okay. So in the second, as I told, k cube minus k, you can take the 6 times s and replace the s here. Okay, I will show it in the another example. Okay, I will do it here. So this is called the Bernoulli's inequality. Okay, so first I will show you how to prove it. For example, you have to show n cube plus 2n is divisible by 3. What will you say? First, for n is equal to 1, so you will get 1 cube plus 2 times 1, that is 3, and this can be written as 3 times 1, divisible of 3. Okay, for n is equal to k for the or r, so you will get r cube plus 2r, let it is a divisible of 3, so we can write 3 times s, simple. So now you have to prove n is equal to r plus 1. What will you do? For n is equal to r plus 1, put it in the p of n, so that is r plus 1 whole cube plus 2 r plus 1. So solve this, you will get r cube plus 1 plus 3 r plus 1 plus this is 2r plus 2. When you will solve it, you will get r cube plus 1 plus 3r square plus 3r plus 2r plus 2. Okay, so actual your result that is in hand is r cube plus 2r. So you will do the r cube plus 3 2 plus 1, okay, plus 3r square plus 5r. So you can write it r cube plus, bring here the 2r, so now you have the 3r here, so you will write 3 plus 3r plus 3r square. This part you know it is actual 3 times some number s. Okay, now you have here 3r plus 3r square, so you will write it 3 plus 3r plus 3r square. So now 3r square, you write the 3r square plus 3, take the 3 common from here, so you will get r plus s plus 3. Take the 3 common, so that is r square plus r plus s plus 1. So now check that this is a multiply of 3, so that means this is the divisible of 3. Simple. So you can change it in this way as well. Okay, so similarly you may have the question, for example, they may give you the question that show that this one, for example, 11 2 raised to power or n plus 2 plus 12 2n, sorry, okay, 2n plus 1, it is divisible of 133. What will you do? You will say let r is equal to 1. Okay, n is equal to 1. Your LHS will be 11 cube plus 12 cube. So that will be 1, okay, 3059. So that is 133 multiply 23. So it is divisible of 133. For n is equal to r, we will say 11 r plus 2 plus 12 2r plus 1. It is 133 times some s. So we will prove r plus 1. 11 r plus 1 plus 2, that's r plus 3. Yes or no? R plus 3 plus 12 2r. So that is 2r plus 3. So we can do, we have this result r plus 2 to r plus 1. So we will do r plus 2 times 11, okay, minus we need 11 times 12 r 2r plus 1 plus 11 times 12 2r plus 1 and your 12 2r plus 3. Now take the 11 here common. You will get 11 r plus 2 minus 12 2r plus 1. I subtract and add the same term. Okay. Plus here. Take the 12 2r plus 1 common. You will get 11 plus 12 square. So now what is this? This is your 133s. Okay, this is plus. Okay, just wait. I have to make it plus and that one minus. This is plus, this is minus. Okay, so this is s minus, this is 12 2r plus 1 and this is 11 plus 144. Okay, yes or no? Okay, here this is 133s. So this is okay, we need the minus or plus. Yeah, that is the minus. So this is minus 1. Just wait, okay, I just write it correctly in this way, that will be more clear to you. So we have 11 r plus 3, so we can write 11 r plus 2 times 11 plus 12 2r plus 3. So we can make it 11 times, okay, 11, okay, 11 times 11 r plus 2, okay, minus, okay, plus 12 2r plus 1. That's what 13 is. Okay, so minus, take this 11 common, minus 12 2r plus 1 plus 144, that is 12 square, 12 2r plus 1. You are just splitting this one, okay, because you can make it 2r plus 1, 12 2r plus 1 and multiply by 12 square, that is 144. Okay, so what you did, you multiplied this by the 11 12 and this, you know, that is 11 133s minus 12 2r plus 1. Okay, so that is 12 2r plus 1 times 133. Take the 133 common, you will get 11s plus 12 2r plus 1. So that is 33 multiplied by t. So that is divisible of 133. So what is actual here? You are making it that way. Okay. So this was about the mathematical induction, and just practice the questions. There are many questions on your book that is already shared with you. Okay, so in the mathematical inclusion and exclusion principle, what we have, the inclusion exclusion principle is a counting technique that helps us find the number of elements in the union of sets by adding the size of individual sets, subtracting the sizes of their intersection, adding back the sizes of triple intersection, and so on. Okay, why we are using it? When when we simply add the cardinality of A and cardinality of B, actually this part is getting added the twice. Okay, so we count the element of intersection twice, so we subtract the elements which are in the intersection. Okay, so everyone knows how to the elements in the A union B is the elements in A, elements in B minus elements in the intersection, and there may be the questions. So you can check here the element of A if we have count, then the element of B, so the elements are coming in twice these elements, so we are subtracting it. Okay, so similarly if we will take the 3, so we are actually what we are doing, so in the 3 we have the A, B and C, so taking the addition of A, B and C, when we are intersecting, so we are excluding, then we are adding the whole intersection. Okay, so we do not have the proof in exam. So in the exam you may have like this: in a survey 100 students are there, 60 like maths, 50 like physics, 4 like chemistry, 30 like the both, 20 like the math and chemistry, 15 the physics chemistry, 10 like the 3. That means all the intersection, how many students like at least one subject. So you will follow it, so math, physics and chemistry, and take the union, you will get the answer. Okay, so these are the things that you know how to solve it. Okay, so for the Boolean algebra, propositional calculus, so I think we have already done the proportional calculus in the last video. I request everyone, you please go through the last video. There are the many things there that has been already covered in the last class. Okay, one thing that I want to tell you, the important things that you have to cover is, yeah, the important things that you have to cover is the first, the min set, max set, partition of a set, a relation, in the relation, especially to prove that it is a equivalence relation, it is a partial order relation, means the most expected questions. Okay, I'm not talking about the 2 marks questions. Okay, equivalence, partial order. Similarly, you have to check which one is reflexive, which one is not reflexive. Okay, in the functions, yeah, here the composition of relation is also important. Composition of relation. Directed graph is very easy. In the functions, you have to show it is one to one, you have to show it is onto, you have to show it is bijective, you have to find the inverse, and you have to find the composition. So this is done already. So in the mathematical induction, you have to use the summation of, that means n into n plus 1, like that, those results, the results that some number is divided some expression. Okay, n cube plus n, 6 divided this one, so solve these questions. And in the mathematical, that's the inclusion exclusion principle, solve some of the problems. And in the proportional calculus, go through the tautologies, contradictions, okay, and find the conjunction, disjunction, negation, and the implication and the biconditional. So I hope that you all will do the best in your exams. Please prepare the exam very well. Go through my videos, the previous videos, lecture videos. Those are very short videos, 10 or 15 minutes. You will get everything, the questions are there. So I just make this video to just tell you the, again, just revising the logics that we are following. So thank you very much. All the best for your exam. Thank you.